Okay, guys.
Yeah, that's not
Robots. They're taking over. This is the next topic.
I love DeepMind.
You love them?
I love DeepMind. They're
Quake
awesome.
3 Arena. Nothing is safe anymore.
No, okay, so the context here, I'm sure a lot of our viewers know this. DeepMind is a subsidiary of Google. They make, primarily use machine learning to make AI. They are advancing AI via gaming because the world of gaming have these really discrete scenarios that you can control. You can control a number of variables. It's a lot simpler than trying to make an AI that can just live in the world on planet Earth like we can.
It's a good place.
So they started off with chess. They made several AI that just destroyed everything that ever had existed in chess in a short amount of time than any other robot had been able to do it. Then they advanced into the world of Go, a game that was hitherto unknown by many Westerners, but it is huge in China, probably even bigger than chess is in the West. It's a more complex game than chess. Go, or AlphaGo, which is made by DeepMind, is the best system, living or silicon in the world that can play Go. Then they moved on to StarCraft, and they started smashing some pros at StarCraft in certain ways. It wasn't a completely fair fight, but it was still impressive. And now they're approaching the Holy Grail.
It's scary.
First-person shooters.
Because is this the first one that I don't know if this is scarier or not by virtue of it being in 3D, but is this the first one that like features an AI like controlling an avatar in 3D, like kind of moving around? Like Dota and StarCraft, you know, you can tell units to go places.
From DeepMind, I believe it is. I can't speak to whether or not there are other 3D game playing AI. I suspect there probably are. They're probably not as good as this one.
Like the regular AI in every shooter game. But this is different.
But those are programmed. They're not like...
Yeah, those aren't conscious like this one is.
They're running... Yeah, those are running scripts. They're not... They didn't teach themselves. Like, the way that DeepMind trains us is just...
Aren't we just running scripts, James? Oh no!
I wish we had a replica pistol that I could just cock and point at my. That would have been a great sound. For that.
But yeah.
So this machine just was taught the rule. It wasn't even taught the rules. It's put into the game space. It has some kind of prime directive, like win points.
Really go back to the main cam.
Yeah, go to us
before I start scrolling like crazy. Sorry if that irritates anybody. Where I'm just like scrolling through the article.
This machine is playing against itself. Okay, it's learning the rules by playing against itself. It's learning strategies by playing against itself. It's playing against itself 200,000 times.
Yeah. That's craity. I couldn't find something saying how long that took it to play 200,000 matches, because I know that with the Dota one, like it'll play like 1,000 matches in like 10 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Like something ridiculous like that. So like when it had played 100,000 matches, it beat humans like okay, but then when it
would crush me after that.
By the time it doubled that match count, it was just like destroying everybody.
Yeah, so what they say is that it was beating, I think they were doing 2v2, and 2 humans.
Yeah, 2v2. 2 bots versus 2 humans. Humans got, on average, they were playing Capture the Flag. They got on average 16 fewer
flags per game. Okay,
I guess they didn't have
How many flags do you need to win?
I guess they didn't have a cap on how many flags you can grab.
I've played Quake at LAN parties here with all of us, and I don't think anyone got like 16 or 20 points. It must have been like a timed game or something.
It seems like the purpose of this whole setup was not to have the bots win, but just to humiliate the human players.
Well, it's really cool how they did it. They did something called like an evolutionary or genetic approach to the training. So they have multiple like iterations of the machine. Like the game is populated only by different iterations of the machine.
Yeah.
It's not learning against human players. It's just all deep minds in there. And then whichever ones suck just get destroyed. Their code gets discarded. They mutate the remaining code, which makes it kind of
like
it's new, a random mutation, just like an evolution. And then if that is better, then it gets to stay. So when these machines first plop into the level, they first figured out the concept of I have a base. This is my base. Then through more playing, they figured
that out.
Yes.
This is my base.
Yes. And then,
I'm blue. It's blue.
And then they figured out there's another base. There's an opposing team's base. Then later they figured out it's advantageous to kill the other players. Like they have to go through the entire thing.
So they didn't tell them any of this.
No.
That is what is truly horrifying. Not not horrifying, like fascinating, but it's kind of like that sick fascination when you're watching a horror movie and like the bad guy is like eviscerating somebody in like a really unusual way, and you're like, what is he doing?
Do you
it's
know
like
what eviscerating means?
Taking your organs out, isn't it?
Okay. I thought you do know. Okay. I thought in an interesting way. I thought you meant.
Well, you can just grab the organs, or you can be like,
You can draw a
you
dick
can do
butt
it.
on there.
Anyways, it's that kind of horrible
You can't look
fascination.
away.
Yeah, where I'm just kind of like, they taught themselves and then they learned Shakespeare or something, or they wrote Shakespeare.
That was the difference between AlphaGo and AlphaZero. You mean Shakespeare's an AI? Is that what you're saying?
No, I mean like eventually, if you leave them in the Quake simulation for long enough, there's a whole
There's
civilization.
100 monkeys typing on typewriters.
Yeah, eventually.
The difference between AlphaGo, which was the original chess playing one, and AlphaZero was with AlphaGo, they taught it the rules of chess. And they gave it matches, historical matches between pros. And it got to observe human players and then learn from there. With AlphaZero, they were just like, play yourself. And it just figured out the game.
And then at the end they say,
And it sounds like this is closer to that.
congratulations, you played yourself.
We're all losers
I've
here.
learned how to do puns while working here. Oh, you don't have more things.
No, that's all I had time to put in today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we can keep talking, but there's more topics at the bottom, so I figured we can lean on those, which is where we are now. No, but there's more.
That's an interesting question. Then how will this affect game design? Because
well, let's
it
not
seems
get
like-
there yet. Let's go to the previous question, which is how I think leads into the second question.
how will human players use AI?
Yeah, because think about when there became AI for chess, like you can play just against the computer when you're playing chess. I think a lot of people do that. A lot of people train that way. A lot of beginners do it too. You don't have anyone to play with, right? What's it going to be like when, let's say it's StarCraft. You're playing StarCraft and the best StarCraft player is the AI. Like this machine learns strategies, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that it would kind of converge on an optimal strategy. And then so if the pros are training by playing AI and not training by playing humans, then the pros are going to mimic what the AI does. And then all the humans are going to be trying to play like the AI. And then that kind of makes you think, okay, does that mean that the AI has found the best strategy for that game? Like, for example, if you're talking about a game like StarCraft where there's myriad strategies you could go Brood Lords, or you could go hard roaches or whatever if you're a Zerg player.
James used to play StarCraft.
This one will be like, okay, every single time this is the build you should do.
Yeah.
And if your game is like that, where there's only one, like the meta is limited, this is the way to play.
Well, I feel
is that a
like-
worse game than a game where like actually there are multiple ways you can go and it's always interesting? And is that going to impact game design going forward?
Well, I feel like in games already, in professional games, if a situation arises in which a certain meta is always being used by everybody all the time,
Yeah.
then that is an indication to the developers that they need to like nerf or buff something.
It's imba.
Imbalanced.
Yeah. See, I'm dropping. I
know.
used to game. I know some games, all you haters.
Yeah, so like I feel like that's a problem regardless of whether there's AI or not in the system, you know? Like if everyone starts using one strategy, that means that game needs to change, or it's not a good game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in games generally, that's called the size of the book. So the reason that chess is a more interesting game than checkers is because it has a bigger book. If you go to a checkers tournament and the two
Same
pros,
size board though.
Yeah. if the pros in a tournament play like 42 games in a row,
Yeah.
39 of them will be a draw. And they're playing the exact same game every time because there's no opportunity to go out of book, because there's just not that many combinations of moves that make sense to make. But in chess and Go, as you've heard, people like to say these things like there's more chess combinations than there are atoms in the universe and stuff like that. And it's true, and that makes it more interesting games, because once you get like 100 moves into the game, you can be out of book. You can be into all new territory.
This
And-
is now we have AIs now that can go off book. You know, that was an example in chess where like one of the AIs started using strategies that like no one had really seen before.
Totally
I
novel.
believe. Yeah. So are we going to get to a point where people don't even want to see humans play each other in these games because it's not as interesting?
Well,
Because I wouldn't want to see, like, I wouldn't be interested in seeing, like, well, maybe I would, actually. I was going to say I wouldn't be interested in seeing robot, like, basketball players or something. But, like,
I disagree that it's
I
less
think I
interesting.
would want to see that.
I disagree that it's less interesting, and here's why. When this Quake machine plays,
Yep.
okay, it maybe developed a really great strategy, but how good is it at aiming? It is as good as they program it to be at aiming.
That's a good
You know,
point.
the point of like the beauty of a really good pro human player is that this person has awesome reflexes. This person can just click on heads all day. Whereas with the machine, they're just gonna say, your like reticle is this big. The probability of you getting a headshot is X, and that's
Yeah.
just set, and that's gonna have to be set between all the different machines that play each other.
See, now, this is what the study says about the abilities of the AI versus the humans. At close range, the AI excelled in combat, but humans were better snipers.
But that's tweakable.
It is tweakable, but that's because its reaction time was half of that of a human's, and in part because its accuracy was 80% compared to the human's 50%.
But this is only in this iteration of the game. They
That's
could
true.
change its accuracy, they could change its reaction time and everything, right? Whereas with humans, you have what you're born with or whatever stimulant you can put in your body that day. That's what
Yeah.
you've got, right? And that's why it's interesting.
Well, and this is the funny thing about any of this kind of like AI stuff is that like they're beating humans, but usually the AI always has some sort of advantage. Like in that Dota 2, when we reported on, or was it Dota 2? It was StarCraft.
Yeah.
In the StarCraft story, when OpenAI, oh no, it wasn't OpenAI.
No, it's
Was that DeepMind?
It's DeepMind. So what you're
When they-
talking about is it had full map knowledge.
Initially, it had full map knowledge, and then they took it away, and it did way worse.
Yeah.
But
Okay, it didn't
yeah,
have
that's the
full map
question.
knowledge. It had fog of war. There were areas that were unexplored on the map that it could not see.
Yes.
However, it didn't have a viewport like a human does,
Right.
who has to pan around. It had vision of the whole map at once, which is
Yeah,
totally not fair.
and I don't like that.
So this is why I don't think that human play is going to be less interesting, and we're just going to watch a tournament of robots. That doesn't really make any sense.
Oh, dude. Let's talk about the dual screen laptops.
Okay.